Alright, this exercise is going to be bent over side laterals. The primary muscle groups that's going to be worked on here is going to be your middle back, and let's go ahead and turn around again, Dan. It's going to be your middle back, it's going to be your scapula, some of your back of your traps, and also your rear delts, right here. Your secondary muscle group, you'll realize, is because it's going to be your hamstrings, a little bit of your quads, and also probably a little bit of your arms, but not too much though. Majority is going to be from your hamstrings and your quads. Okay, Dan, let's get started. So the feet placement is going to be pretty close, and you want to place it, you'll notice that his feet's probably about 4 to 5 inches apart, and if you notice, let's come over here on the side and get a good side view here. You'll notice the position here that Dan has his knees bent just a little bit. His back is almost parallel but slightly up a little bit, and his dumbbells are very close to his shins. So let's go ahead and do some reps. And you notice Dan's arms are bent just a little bit. You can really see the muscles working. And this is one of those exercises too where you can actually see the muscles working in the upper back, and his middle back is tense at the same time. A lot of the pressure is going to be here in his thighs and also in his hamstrings. So that's actually a pretty tough position just to hold by itself. And if you notice, as he's coming out for that fly, the dumbbell is coming slightly out to the back. So there's a few different ways to do this. You can do it that way, or you can have the dumbbells come up a little higher. I'll show you in just a sec how that works. Alright, good job, Dan. So some of the common mistakes that guys make would again be rounding their back. And just like with some of the other back exercises, a lot of guys will go ahead and round their back like this, and then they'll go ahead and do the side lateral. Okay, so this is a dangerous movement. You want to make sure that your chest is out, and of course it's not as dangerous as doing the deadlift or bent over roll where you're using heavier weight. We still want to make sure you get good form. Chest out and have a slight arch in your back, dumbbells close to your shins, and you look forward and come out like this. Another common mistake is guys that don't control the weight and they're just kind of swinging it back and forth. And you'll notice that when we're going, you control it up and come back down. Up and down. You'll see a lot of guys do this. And all they're doing is just swinging their arms up and just kind of letting gravity pull it down. So just remember, every workout, you want to make sure you're contracting the right muscle groups. So some of the modifications that you can do for this exercise is actually, you can control where you want the dumbbell to go. You can have it go to the back, like this. You can do it to the side, or you can do it to the front. And when you do it to the back, what you're doing is you're actually working a little bit more on your lower back. When you go to the side, it's working overall, and when you come to the front, it actually works on your traps more and more of your rear delts. Another way you can do it, which is kind of tough, is actually doing it to the front, but you can actually point the dumbbells upwards, and it looks like this. And this is a pretty tough movement, and what this really concentrates on is your upper back, and it really works on your traps. So, Dan, anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, so one thing I noticed is that, like getting into that correct form, I noticed it's a pretty intense hamstring stretch.
Right.
Is that something guys should be aiming for?
It's just that the position to go ahead and do this right, it takes a little bit of practice. And you want to make sure that your knees are bent and you're able to bend over like this. But because I've been doing it for so many years, this is a pretty natural and a real easy position to get into. But for new guys that get started, they'll realize that even holding this position, that their back is getting tired, their hamstrings are getting tired, and they have some difficulty. So what you can do in the beginning is you can go with a little lighter weight and just kind of practice holding that position. Another way you can do it is you can actually sit on a seat and sit on a bench, put your feet together, knees together, and you can actually do the same movement, just like this. But when you do this, you're going to realize that you're actually not working on your hamstrings or your quads anymore, and it's less stress for your back because now you're using the bench and you're resting some of your muscles on there. So to answer your question, just kind of work on it, and eventually you'll develop the right muscles to do that exercise right.
Yeah, and I think it's really worthwhile for guys to develop that bent over position, even though it is kind of hard to learn.
Right.
So one other thing I wanted to ask you, I noticed that even with these little 10-pound dumbbells, like this is pretty hard.
Yeah.
Especially with some of those modifications.
Yeah, you see me sweating, right?
Yeah. If a guy actually couldn't do any weight, would it be okay to just do this with body weight?
Yeah, that's fine. You'll realize it's actually pretty tough to still do it with body weight because you got to be able to hold that position right. See, holding that position by itself is pretty much like a workout.
Yeah.
It's an isometric workout. But yeah, you can do it without body weight in the beginning and then kind of slowly build up.
Yeah. One final question. When guys are going up to the top of this, how far up exactly should they go?
It really depends on everybody's a little different. You want to go as far up as you can. Some people have just a farther range of motion than others.
Yeah, so just basically as far up as you can.
Right. Another thing that I thought of is when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you keep your arms bent, and you don't want to keep it too bent, so you don't want to do it like this because this isn't working your back enough, and you don't want to do it like this because that's too much stress on your shoulders. You want to keep it a natural bend it just a little bit, and this way you can fully use your back. So that's kind of a tip that's going to help out in the beginning.
Yeah, great.
And that's how you do the bent over side lateral.